Because everybody can live when you're on top. Can you stay on top? That's the real question.
One day, Mace was on top of the world. The next, he was preaching in a pulpit, saying God told him to walk away from it all. Fans were left stunned, wondering, why would a man who had it all suddenly disappear? But Mace isn't the only one. From chart-topping superstars who walked away from fame to prodigies swallowed by controversy, depression, or industry betrayal, hip-hop has a long list of artists who rose fast and vanished even faster. These are 15 rappers who mysteriously disappeared, and the real stories behind why they never came back. Let's begin with number 15, the man we just introduced, Mace. Few disappearances in hip-hop history were as shocking as his. In the late 1990s, Matey was the golden child of Puff Daddy's Bad Boy Records, stepping into the spotlight, left vacant after the death of the notorious B.I.G. His album, Harlem World, wasn't just a success. It was a movement, selling over 4 million copies and earning a Grammy nomination. His slick flow, designer suits, and smooth delivery made him one of the most recognizable faces in rap. Then, at the absolute peak of his fame, he stunned the world by walking away. In 1999, Mace announced he was retiring to follow a spiritual calling, saying God had told him to leave rap behind. For years, he vanished from public life, re-emerging only in 2004 with Welcome Back, a cleaner, happier version of himself. Yet even that comeback was short-lived. Behind the smiles and sermons, he struggled with balancing fame and faith, switching between preaching and performing multiple times over the years. Fans were left wondering, was Mace escaping sin or just searching for peace? His story remains one of hip-hop's most haunting disappearances, not of body, but of identity. Next is number 14, Fetty Wap, one of the most meteoric rises the trap era had ever seen. In 2015, he became an overnight superstar when Trap Queen took over the airwaves, catapulting him from the streets of Paterson, New Jersey, to the Grammy stage. Within a single year, he tied Drake's record with 4 songs in Billboard's top 10 simultaneously. His melodic trap vocals made him sound like the future, but behind the fame, the money, and the Remy boys, chaos brewed. Fetty later confessed that bad management and greed drained his career, saying, "It was selfishness all around me. When the hits stopped, so did the loyalty." Then came his darkest chapter, a federal case accusing him of trafficking over 100 kilograms of heroin and the same industry that once praised him fell silent. His Instagram posts grew rare, his once flashy persona replaced by quiet determination. "I got rid of all that goofy stuff," he said, promising a comeback. Fetty's story is a tragic reminder that fame burns brightest before it burns out, and that sometimes disappearing isn't a choice, but a consequence of losing control of the empire you built. Now we have number 13, B.O.B., the rapper who soared to global stardom before plummeting into controversy. In the early 2010s, he was unstoppable, a chart-topping artist with crossover appeal, radio hits like Nothing on You, Airplanes and Magic, and collaborations with Bruno Mars, Eminem, and Paramore's Hayley Williams. He was hailed as Atlanta's next superstar, bridging pop and rap in ways few could. Then, in 2016, everything changed. B.O.B. declared on Twitter that the earth was flat. The internet erupted. Memes, mockery, and late-night jokes followed. Overnight, his artistry became a punchline. He later admitted he was battling depression and paranoia at the time, saying fame had pushed him into isolation. To make matters worse, he accused Atlantic Records of silencing him, claiming they feared he'd outgrow their control. After splitting with the label, he retreated to independent projects, releasing mixtapes that went mostly unnoticed. But beneath the ridicule was a man searching for clarity in a world that misunderstood him. His disappearance wasn't just about controversy. It was about an artist crushed between creative freedom and the cruelty of internet culture. Coming in at number 12, Obi Trice, the Detroit rapper whose real name became his brand. When Eminem introduced him to the world on Without Me with the legendary line, "Real name, no gimmicks," Obi instantly became a symbol of authenticity. His debut album, Cheers, sold platinum, fueled by songs like Got Some Teeth, and he looked destined to become Shady Records' next star. But then came the unraveling. Label turmoil, management issues, and personal tragedy began to drag him down. In 2005, he was shot in the head while driving on a Detroit highway, a terrifying near-death experience he later said changed him forever. Though he survived and kept recording, the same fire was gone. Over the years, legal issues overshadowed his music, including a later arrest for allegedly threatening an ex-girlfriend. Fans who remembered his raw honesty in the early 2000s struggled to recognize the man in the headlines. For Obi, disappearance didn't happen in a single moment. It was a slow fade marked by trauma, silence, and survival. The rapper, once known for keeping it real, became a ghost in his own story. Sliding in at number 11, Roscoe Dash, a name once synonymous with the club scene of the early 2010s. When All the Way Turned Up hit radio in 2010, Roscoe became the soundtrack of college parties across America. His catchy hooks and youthful swagger carried into his feature on Waka Flocka Flame's No Hands, one of the biggest songs of that decade. By 2012, he'd landed on XXL's freshman cover, but that momentum vanished almost overnight. Rumors of ego clashes with producers and missed opportunities began circulating. Then came an odd twist. Internet claims that Roscoe was working as an Uber driver. He quickly denied it, calling it disrespectful, but the rumor stuck, turning his name into a meme. Behind the scenes, he'd grown disillusioned with the industry, tweeting that he was never properly credited for some of his biggest collaborations, including with Kanye West on Cruel Summer. His frustration with exploitation, fame, and false narratives led him to step away. Roscoe Dash didn't vanish because he failed. He disappeared because he refused to play a game that kept robbing him of his credit. Now at number 10, Charles Hamilton, one of hip-hop's brightest but most tragic prodigies. In 2009, the Harlem-born rapper was hailed as the future of lyricism. With his pink headphones, Sonic the Hedgehog obsession, and raw creativity, Charles stood out in a sea of carbon copies. He had a $1 million deal with Interscope, a spot on XXL's freshman cover, and cosigns from Kanye West and Pharrell. But fame came too fast, and the industry chewed him up just as quickly. He battled depression and bipolar disorder, admitting later that he was on a self-destructive path. A viral video of him being punched by his girlfriend, followed by erratic interviews, turned him into internet fodder. Soon after, Interscope dropped him. For years, Charles drifted in and out of psychiatric care, posting cryptic freestyles from random studios before vanishing entirely. Then, years later, the Red Bull documentary Fault Lines finally told his story, a tale of genius, pain, and resilience. Charles's honesty about mental health turned his silence into a message. His disappearance wasn't weakness, it was survival. He's proof that behind the glitz of fame often lies a fight just to stay alive and sane. Let's move to number 9, Bubba Sparxxx, the man who blended hip-hop with country soul long before the world called it country rap. In 2003, his album Deliverance redefined Southern rap. Critics praised its honesty, fusing bluegrass samples with Timbaland's futuristic production. But commercial success never matched the hype. Selling around 400,000 copies, a number that would be celebrated today, was back then considered a flop. Bubba's career stalled, and behind the scenes, his life spiraled out of control. After a snowmobile accident in Canada, he developed an addiction to prescription painkillers. "I let Timbaland down," he later confessed, acknowledging how the shattered his creativity. His next big hit, Miss New Booty, in 2006, gave him temporary redemption, but it couldn't save his mainstream career. By the next decade, Bubba was independent, releasing music through small labels and performing for loyal fans in the South. Looking back, many now credit him as a pioneer who bridged two worlds long before Lil Nas X or Jelly Roll made it fashionable. Bubba's disappearance wasn't failure, it was a quiet retreat by an artist who was simply ahead of his time. Next up, number 8, Beanie Sigel, Philadelphia's own street poet and one of Rockefeller's fiercest soldiers. In the early 2000s, Beanie's gritty storytelling and raw emotion made him a fan favorite. His album, The Bee, coming open strong, selling more than 130,000 copies in its first week and birthing the haunting classic Feel It in the Air. But that success came with shadows. In 2005, Beanie was sentenced to a year in prison for possession, right as Jay-Z rose to the presidency of Def Jam and Rockefeller fractured. Caught between old loyalty and new leadership, Beanie's career was collateral damage in a war he didn't start. After prison, he released The Solution and The Broad Street Bully, but his health, including a near-fatal shooting in 2014, slowed him further. "I've never been around Jay on an off day," he once said, a confession that hinted at heartbreak beneath the bravado. Beanie Sigel didn't just disappear. He was buried under the politics of hip-hop's most powerful dynasty. His story is both a cautionary tale and a reminder that loyalty in the rap game often comes at a price. Now we go to number 7, Kia, the unapologetic voice behind one of the most infamous songs in rap history. In 2002, her breakout hit, My Neck, My Back, shocked radio and defined the era's raw Southern confidence. The track went viral before viral existed, but with fame came backlash. Rumors surfaced online that Kia had been by an ex-boyfriend, a lie she blamed on her former label. The controversy deepened when the Smoking Gun published 20 of her mugshots, exposing her rough past and making her a tabloid target. Her next single, The K Wang, failed to chart, and her follow-up album Street Preacher was shelved indefinitely. The industry moved on, labeling her a one-hit wonder, but Kia refused to fade. She reinvented herself as an outspoken online personality, launching a web show where she delivered unfiltered commentary about celebrity culture. Love her or hate her, she stayed visible on her own terms. In a world that silences women who won't conform, Kia turned her disappearance into rebellion, proving that sometimes the loudest statement an artist can make is simply refusing to disappear quietly. At number 6, Jay Quan, the St. Louis teen who made the world shout, "Everybody in the club get tipsy." In 2004, that single turned him into a household name and landed him a platinum plaque before his 20th birthday. But by 2010, his name resurfaced for an eerie reason. Reports claimed he had gone missing. For weeks, fans feared the worst, until Jaquan appeared via webcam, alive and joking that he was fine. Yet the truth was darker. In BET's Finding Jaquan, he revealed a life marked by abandonment, homelessness, and exploitation. He'd left home at 12, slept in cars, and hustled to survive. "I was raped for money for years," he confessed. A chilling admission that exposed the music industry's predatory underbelly. The fame that once seemed like salvation had become another form of pain. After the rumors, Jaquan stepped back, releasing small projects, but mostly avoiding the spotlight. His disappearance wasn't a scandal. It was a silent protest against a world that took everything from him too soon. For Jaquan, stepping away wasn't retreat, it was healing. Moving down to number 5, Chamillionaire, the Houston wordsmith who conquered the charts with Ridin' Dirty before quietly walking away. At his peak, he won a Grammy Award, sold millions, and stood shoulder to shoulder with the South's greatest rappers. But Cham saw something others didn't, that fame was a treadmill built on constant relevance. By 2012, he'd shifted gears completely, trading record deals for venture capital. He began investing in startups, backing more than 40 companies, and co-founding Canvas with fellow mogul E40, a video app meant to bridge creators and investors. Together, they launched funding competitions for minority entrepreneurs, with Shark Tank judge Damon John helping select winners. "I did the musician route," he said, "but what really matters is building something that feeds your family." In a business obsessed with spotlight and ego, Chamillionaire chose legacy. His exit from rap wasn't retreat, it was evolution. While most artists chase virality, he built equity, proving that the smartest disappearance isn't mystery, it's mastery. Next is number 4, Mims, the man whose voice became the anthem of 2007. When This Is Why I'm Hot hit the airwaves, it topped the Billboard charts, sold over 1 million singles, and turned him into the face of swagger rap. His debut album, Music Is My Savior, went gold, but the industry's glow faded fast. By 2009, while recording Guilt, he clashed with his label over creative control. Frustrated with the politics of radio and marketing, Mims made a bold choice. He walked away. Instead of chasing another hit, he founded Recordgram, a mobile app designed to connect artists and producers anywhere in the world. In 2016, it launched, and a year later, it won TechCrunch's Startup Battlefield, the same stage where Dropbox and Mint debuted. Mims had reinvented himself as a tech innovator. "I realized I could still change lives, just not with beats, but with tools," he said. His story proves that disappearing from rap doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes it means rewriting your own success story. Coming in at number 3, Hurricane Chris, the Louisiana prodigy who gave us a Bay Bay and Halle Berry, turning club chants into cultural anthems. At just 16, he'd put Shreveport on the map, showing the world that Southern bounce could go mainstream. But in June of 2020, his name returned to headlines for a devastating reason: an arrest for second-degree murder following a gas station shooting. He insisted it was self-defense, yet the arrest halted everything. Acting opportunities vanished, record deals dissolved, and the same media that once celebrated him labeled him a criminal. After nearly 3 years in court, he was acquitted, finally free but scarred by the process. He later said an officer bragged about arresting his first rapper, a statement that revealed how deeply bias can run. Now, Chris is suing for damages and trying to rebuild, one track at a time. His disappearance wasn't fueled by scandal or ego. It was a fight for freedom in a system that often mistakes survival for guilt. His return may not make headlines, but it speaks volumes about resilience. Now at number 2, Jay Electronica, the enigma who turned silence into mythology. In 2010, he dropped Exhibit C, and overnight, hip-hop crowned him its prophet. Jay-Z and Diddy battled to sign him, and fans awaited his debut album like scripture. Then, nothing. Years passed, rumors swirled, and his promised album, Act 2, The Patents of Nobility, became legend. In a twist stranger than fiction, the project surfaced online a decade later after hackers allegedly found it on a server and held it for ransom. Fans pooled money to buy it, and the long-lost masterpiece spread across the web. Jay's reaction was as mysterious as his persona. I tried to stop it from coming out, but Allah is the best of planners. His vanishing act wasn't laziness, it was spiritual exile. Jay Electronica operates on divine timing, not deadlines. His music, sparse but profound, feels more like scripture than sound. He reminds us that not every disappearance is tragedy. Some are transformation, and some artists don't fade, they ascend. And finally, number 1, Chingy, the St. Louis hitmaker who once ruled early 2000s hip-hop. His debut album, Jackpot, opened at number 2 on the Billboard 200, selling over 150,000 copies in its first week. Right Thur Holiday Inn and One Call Away made him a household name, and his catchy Midwestern flow defined club rap for years. But behind the charts, cracks formed. Disputes with Ludacris and Chaka Zulu's label, Disturbing Thought Peace, left him feeling sabotaged. He accused them of refusing to promote his 4th album, Hate It or Love It, which barely reached the charts. They said, "We dropped the bomb," Chingy recalled. They didn't promote it. In 2007, he left the label, and almost instantly, his presence faded. Later, damaging allegations spread online, claims he insists were false. But the backlash was enough to push him out of the mainstream. Still, he never stopped creating. Today, Chingy releases music independently, performs for loyal fans who never stopped believing. His story is a cautionary tale about how quickly the industry can turn its back, and how silence can be louder than any hit. Fame has an expiration date, and not everyone gets to choose when theirs arrives. Some of these rappers vanished because of scandal, others by choice. Mims and Chamillionaire turned their disappearances into success stories. Jay Electronica turned absence into mystique, and Chingy proved that loyalty in this business can disappear even faster than fame itself. 15 names, 15 mysteries. 15 reminders that in the music world, disappearance is rarely an accident. It's usually the price of survival. So what do you think? Which of these rappers do you believe has the best shot at a comeback, and which one vanished for good? The comment section's open. Let's talk about it.